Good evening, and you are very welcome back to another episode of the Women's National League podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. I'm Breifne and Aaron, and I'm once again joined by the fabulous Aaron Clark. Aaron, very welcome back for another week of punishment.
Looking forward to it. Great guests lined up, and you know the league is rocking, and we've had a great weekend. So looking forward to talking about it.
Absolutely. I say punishment, tongue in cheek. What a great game. What a couple of games over the weekend. We seem to have this fascination with hitting the ball from about 35 yards into the back of the net as impressively as we can. And we're going to talk a lot about some wonder goals over the next 45 minutes to an hour or so. And I suppose we might as well start with a quick roundup of some of the games. But we had a big game in Tolka Park. Fabulous result for Galway United. They pulled a draw out of the fire there. Sligo Rovers, probably the biggest win in their debut season, 1-0 winners over Wexford Youths. A little bit against the run of play, but well worth the win in the end. What a performance from their goalkeeper, Amy Mahon. We'll hear from her later on in the programme. You, of course, were in Tolka Park. You had a chat with Alan Murphy. He'll be joining us with a pre-recorded interview with him as well. We will be joined live by Danny Murphy, the brand new manager in the hot seat in Cork City. What's he going to bring to the table? We're going to find out a little bit more about his plans as we go through the next couple of minutes or so. He'll be joining us very, very shortly. The two other games, DLR 4-0 winners down in Limerick, and Bows and Athlone, a 2-1 win for Athlone. We'll be talking about all of that over the next hour or so. But first, maybe let's have a look ourselves at the Cork game before we bring Danny into the situation. Aaron, much to learn from this from anybody? It was a bit of a baptism of fire for Danny when he came into the team. 7-0 winners in the end, Peamount. Yeah,
they sort of really got that monkey off, considering the lack of wins the last couple of weeks and what's gone on. Probably my tweets didn't help. They probably fired them up a little bit. But back to winning ways. Impressive display. Getting our first Women's National League goal. She's made a couple of appearances off the bench. Another youngster then making a debut as well. For Danny and Cork, it was a tough one to take, but the problem is you got to start somewhere, you got to learn somewhere, and heavy defeats, big wins. Do you learn much about a big win where you might learn a lot about players' character in a big defeat, especially being only in the door? So, be interesting to get his take on what he took out of that game. But yeah, it was a real tough one to come into, but it gives him an opportunity with one game before the break, and then he has a couple of weeks to work with his players to get his players to win.
Sorry, we had lost you for a second, but you're back now.
The announcement of Laurie Balloon, who had come back to the club, which is brilliant. It'll be interesting to hear Danny's thoughts on getting her. The Zara Foley's come back in. So they've made some additions, but it's been a tough first half of the season for Cork, and getting a good manager in there is going to help steady the ship.
Absolutely. I suppose 3 goals from the boot of Anya O'Gorman. We've definitely had that phrase said on the show before. She really is phenomenal. At the stage of her career she's at, I was doing a little research yesterday just as part of the overall stats on the website. Do you know how many goals Anya has got in the Women's National League since it was started? I think it's 12 seasons ago now.
I'd say she's close to about 150.
She's well over 150. In fact, she's too shy of adding second and third place together. That's how many goals she has. It's fairly impressive, particularly including when you consider she spent a bit of time in the UK as well. Someone else who's spent a little bit of time in the UK, we've mentioned a couple of times in the show so far, is Danny Murphy. And Danny joins us now, of course, the brand new manager of Cork Women's FC. First of all, welcome to the show. Welcome to the league, Danny.
Cheers, appreciate it, lads. No, I'm delighted to be back. Seems like I've been away forever.
Well, it seems like one of your neighbours is joining us there anyway, briefly. But in terms of, I suppose, you're a Cork City legend over, I think it's 200 and something appearances for the club, 230, I think. One league title, the first division title. We won't mention the one you won with Shamrock Rovers tonight for the audience we have. But it must be nice to come back to the club in that manner, to the position of the women's manager.
Yeah, no, listen, Cork's always been home for me. I lived here for around 14 years. So for me, it was a no-brainer when I got the phone call and the opportunity to present to the board and speak to them. And, for me, coming back to Cork and, hopefully I can bring some more good times back to Cork like I did as a player, but now in a coaching aspect and, for me, trying to get the women's team to where they need to be.
Yeah, obviously, can you tell us about that process in terms of how was the approach made? Did you approach the club? Did you apply for the job? Were you approached Because obviously you have a little bit of a background. We might get into that in women's football over the last couple of years. But first of all, maybe how did you get the job? What was the process involved?
Yeah, no. When the job went out live, I applied for it, and I went for an interview, and like everyone else did, and luckily enough, I was, gave a good interview, and the club were happy with where I wanted to take things and what I wanted to do with them, and I think that that kind of helped me. Obviously, must have done something decent because I ended up getting a job in the end.
And just in terms of that, like, what was it that attracted you to come back, especially to Cork City women? Because we see a lot of players, ex-players looking to get involved in the league. John Sullivan's with DLR Waves. What was it that attracted you?
Cork City Football Club. For me, like, it's a massive club, like, and we're massively underachieving on the girls' side. I feel that there's a good team there and some really good players. And I think that, and I believe in my own ability, and I think that I can take them to the next level. And it's going to take time, but I know where I can get them to.
I suppose, Danny, talk to us a bit about your background in women's football, because most people might not be aware of this, but you actually spent the last couple of years involved with a women's team in England. You set it up, you managed the team as well. Talk to us about Welling United and what kind of impact that made in your life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was over in the US before, working in South Carolina, and I was a part of a club which had around 2,500 girls in the club, and a part of my process was to get girls from the junior club level to the elite level of collegiate level, and dealing with the top 10 schools within the country. And I'm lucky enough that a lot of the girls that I coached and had that have now gone on to achieve things, and they're playing in like the top 3 schools in the country and being really successful. And my visa ran out. I had an opportunity to go back and renew my visa, but at the time when I went back to the UK, COVID hit. So it was kind of just starting to hit, really. And I was like, well, do you know what? I've been away for so long. I'd left England when I was 20 and I hadn't been back. So, and I'm only 28 now, but so I left. I hadn't been back. So I was like, do you know what? I'll stay at home, stay around my niece's nephew, see my little boy a lot more, spend more time with family. And then I got an opportunity to go into Welling. I was doing the boys' side, and I asked them why they didn't have a girls' section. And they said, well, we kind of have one team, and like, if you're interested in setting it all up, getting it running, work with a couple of the others. So I worked with a lady called Vicky Ball, and we set up the academy from under 4s all the way up to under 16s in the space of all through lockdown. And we ended up with around a team in every age group, really generating like some really good players. We lost, obviously it's different in the UK because we lost a lot to professional clubs as such, in terms of likes of Crystal Palace and West Ham and teams like that. And then we set up the women's team, and they'd never had a women's team. So myself and Vicky kind of put some things out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Ended up generating like a girl called Emily Simmons come into the club, who had a wealth of knowledge of people within the league and was still playing herself. She helped with recruitment. We recruited some really good players, and in the space of 2 years, we had three promotions in 2 years, because the league they put us in at the start, we completely dominated it, and they pushed us up 2 divisions in 1 season. Then we kind of went into like a round robin tournament pre-lockdown. We won that, and then that moved us up 3 divisions, really.
Yeah, well, I'll jump in there. Sorry, but when you look back at kind of the lessons you've taken from that experience with Welling, what aspect of that do you see most of when you look at the Cork situation? Because I suppose the situation they're in at the moment, it's been a poor season. If we look at it purely on the results, although some performances have been really impressive this year, what can you bring to the table for Cork, and where can we start to see maybe your input over the next couple of weeks and months as the season progresses?
Yeah, I think like for me, being at Welling, I learned a whole lot about, it's not just about being a manager. There's loads of aspects to a football club that you need to be involved with. And obviously, finding finance, sponsorship, trying to, recruit, like all the things that you need to do to run a football club. I kind of had to do a lot on my own. I had some help, but a lot of it I had to do myself. And and the girls kind of got behind that and understood that, I was going out trying to do stuff for them to make things better for them. And as I said to the girls at Cork, like, things are changing here, and the support and backing eye from the club is huge, and things will change and we will improve and we will get better, but we've got to strip things right back down to basics. I think that we're overcomplicating things, trying to do things at with an elite level sort of player who's training every day, whereas, let's be honest, the girls are part-time footballers, and they're training nearly full-time, and they have jobs and they're at college and some are at school still, and you're trying to fit everything into the schedule. And for me, it's like, let's just make things very basic. Let's strip things back. Let's start to be, more organised. Let's start to keep more clean sheets. And then if you keep clean sheets, you've always got a chance of winning a game. And then, I personally think that the footballing aspect of the game, they're very good at. I think that we struggle from a organisational point of view, and, being more aggressive and working harder and being harder to beat, which is a massive part of the game. And your technical ability will only take you so far. And I've kind of had them conversations with the girls that I believe in them as footballers. I really do think they're good players, but I need to teach them the other side of the game.
I had to listen to bits of your podcast, your press conference earlier, Danny. Just a couple of things for myself. In terms of earlier in the season, there was a little bit of said on social media, the Echo and Cork report as well. There was trouble with, say, training facilities for the likes of the girls. And you were talking about things like fitness. Previous manager said that at times during pre-season, he could only get select girls to come to training because they had to train at 5 o'clock during the day just to get pitches. Where, as you say, people are working, people are things. What sort of commitment have the club given you to, things like facilities and access to training facilities, so you can put that side that you want to put together?
Yeah, and I think, listen, I wasn't here at the start, so for me to comment on that and make judgments on it would be like, I'd just be talking. I don't have all the details on that, and the conversations I've had with the club is moving forward. Like, even for the men's team, and this is what people don't understand. Like, Cork don't have a training ground. We use Bishopstown, so even for the men's team, they've still got if the weather's bad, you can't use the pitch, and they have to travel other places to train. And it's the same for the women's. Obviously, I don't really know, as I said, the ins and outs of what kind of went on. But like, for me, like, you've got to find solutions and you've got to make things work. And there's no point saying, oh, we couldn't have this or we couldn't have that. Like, what can we have? What can we change? What can we do? How can we find solutions? Can we problem solve these things? Can we go, all right, we can't have a training pitch. Well, do you know what we do? We can go up to Ballincollig to National Park and go for a run and get fit. We can go and do. There's loads of other things you can do, and you've got to think outside the box, because it isn't perfect, and it won't be at any club within the League of Ireland. Not every club has great training facilities, and you've got to make do with what you have. And then when you don't have things, you've got to find solutions as a manager. And it's easy for me to sit back now and go, well, I don't want to hear excuses. You didn't have this and you didn't have that. Like, what did you have? What could you make work? How could you get the best out of the girls of what you had? And I personally don't feel that was done. I think it was always a case of, oh, well, they won't give us this and we can't have that. Well, do you know what? Just go and do it. If you have to pay for it yourself, go and do it. Because for me as a coach, I don't want to let my own name down. I don't want to let the players down, certainly. So the first thing I'm going to do is go and make sure that I can get it. If it has to come out of my own pocket and I have to do certain things, I'm going to do that. Because I want to achieve and I want to do well. I'm not going to allow other people to dictate, oh, well, you can't train here tonight because you've got to do this. Well, do you know what, girls? It ain't working for everyone's schedule. So what does work for you? What can we do? And I think that for me is like massive.
Danny, in terms of, I suppose, the role when it came up, you mentioned that it came up, you applied for it. What was your knowledge of the club at that point? Had you seen any of the games? Had you been aware of kind of the players that were involved in that setup? Or have you been on a fairly steep learning curve in the last couple of weeks since this came up as an opportunity?
Yeah, no. When I first come back from America before I went to the UK, I actually did. I think Ronan left at the time, and I said, listen, if it's available, I'd be interested in. It wasn't because someone else ended up getting it, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And I always had an invested interest in it, and obviously I'm close with some of the people who are in the academy and at the club, and I used to be like to them, I'd love to get back and do the women's team at Cork. Like, I'd love to do it, and over since the start of this season, I've really been watching the games online, understanding who's who, who we need to play against. But you know what? You can watch all the games you want on TV and online, but it's completely different when you stand on the sideline.
Yeah, in terms of, I suppose, you mentioned kind of the fact that you wanted to get involved in women's sport, whether it was Welling or now Cork. Is women's football the side of the game you're interested in getting involved in? Some people are very much down the women's football route, whereas others are like, it's football is football. It's into the club. It's an opportunity to maybe get in and move around and maybe end up in the main job in a couple of years' time. Is there an ambition there for you to be like that champion for women's football in the club? Because I think over the last 10 years, watching Cork from a distance, I think that's what they've been missing, is someone to just grab it by the scruff of the neck and push it forward, whether it's resources, finances, player retention. Can you be that person for women's football in Cork?
100%. I'm not taken, and this is, I've heard this like on numerous occasions. People think that I'm using it as a stepping stone to go elsewhere. I'm using this to be the best women's team in the country. I believe that if we get all the things right off the pitch and we get certain aspects of the game right on the pitch, that I can drive the club forward. And I enjoy women's football. I enjoy coaching women's football. I have no aspirations to be a Cork City men's manager, and I really don't. I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. I want to be the person who takes us to the next level, and I have no interest in, the men's job. That for me is a lot harder than what I've got to do.
Just on that, are them comments maybe a little bit disrespectful towards the girls? If people saying maybe you're using it as a stepping stone, because that's not giving them the respect that they've earned.
Yeah, but I think that's people that don't know me, and I find it disrespectful to me. And I know that some certain people have made comments on Twitter and people pass them to me. I'm like, I don't care. Like, people can say what they want about me. I've been called a whole lot worse. Like, I played up in Drogheda and people have called me 10 times worse than that. I can take it. Like, I know myself what I want to do, and I know that the girls will get to know me and understand me as a person and where I want to take them. So people can write all they want. They can talk about what they want. It doesn't phase my job and what I'm going to do, because I believe I can take the girls and this club on the women's side to even par with the men's at some stage.
You talked about a couple of players there, and we've kind of back and forth about the squad and player retention, and that seems to have been an issue for Cork over the last number of years, both in terms of girls going to other clubs and girls going abroad, whether it's a scholarship or a contract elsewhere. That seems to be a huge problem for Cork. We look at the likes of Claire Shine, Denise O'Sullivan, and there's plenty more. Maria O'Sullivan as well in goals, and Lauren Egbonu. I mean, these kind of players, keeping them, giving them a real reason to stay in Cork, whether that's education or football or work, like that's a big job as well ahead of you.
Yeah, no, it's a massive job, but I think that comes down to what we've achieved and what we've done. Like, in terms of our history and where we're at as a football club, we've got huge amounts of history. In terms of the women's, we don't. Like for me, like Claire, let's be honest, Claire Shine, Denise O'Sullivan, they're exceptional footballers. And the level of leagues they're playing in is better than the current standard of the league here, right? And that's no disrespect to anybody in this league or any player, but they're exceptional players. Like, to keep hold of Denise O'Sullivan's impossible, right? Because the level of player she is, she could play in the Premier League in England, and Claire Shine's an exceptional player. The ones from and so Sergio Newton, and like, she's at Shells, but let's be realistic, she probably won't be there in July. She's actually gone on a pre-contract at Durham I think she goes, our last game is this weekend. Yeah, and I mean, like, to keep players like that within this country, it's not about just with Cork City, it's improving the league. And if we can make Cork City a club that's fighting at the top end of the table, it'll only improve the league and the quality, and then the players will stay, because then you can start to attract more sponsors. Then the league becomes, there's more finance within the league, and then all the clubs benefit. But for me, like, we need to concentrate on keeping girls here. Like, girls going off to the States, I don't blame them. Like, I've been there. It's an unbelievable opportunity. Right? Go out there, you come out of a master's degree, you probably learn more about football and a professional aspect of the game at a college level than you will here. So I don't blame them for doing that, but I need to make things more attractive, that it's a harder decision for them to go. At the moment, it's an easy decision. I need to make it a place where, when girls do come back from America, they're ringing me up going, "Oh, Danny, I want to come back and play." Not at the moment, they'd rather go to a Shelbourne, an Athlone, and Wexford and teams like that. Like for me, like they should be ringing me up a month before they've finished them, going, "I'd love to come back and play for Cork again." But we don't kind of have that buzz at the moment, but we'll get there because we'll start winning, we'll start developing, we'll start improving, we'll compete at the other end of the table, and then it's more attractive for girls to want to come and play it.
Is it fair to say maybe you're looking in from the outside, so it might be a bit hard for you to answer this question, but when they got to the cup final a couple of years ago, they won the cup final, then they got to the cup final, they lost against Peamount, but as a side, they've never really kicked on, and they've constantly lost players. Like you look at one summer, I think they lost 5 players to America. Is it fair to say, like, that's your first job is to get retention, because without that, you're constantly just going to drip feed players in. It's hard to always make up with maybe the younger academy players. While some of them are very good, it's hard to make up with the amount that are constantly having to be brought in.
Yeah, no, it is difficult. And I think the American thing for me, if a girl came to me and said to me, "Listen, I've been offered a scholarship in America. I don't have to pay for it. I'm going to end up with a master's degree. I'm going to play football full time for the next 3 years." I'd be like to them, "Go, you've got to go and give it a go." But do I want them to stay here? Of course I want them to stay here. But I need to make that decision harder for them to leave. Whether they make the decision ultimately is going to be their choice. Can we retain our best players is a problem, and we need to do that. I think that, Cork wasn't always under the club's umbrella, but there's a lot of things that are going to change moving forward in terms of where we're at as a club and where we want to be. And, there's people in the background doing unbelievable work to try and, even from a social media aspect, the amount of work that goes into it, I don't think people understand that. We've got people who are travelling up to games, coming out to training, travelling all over the country, and they're not even getting paid for that. But they believe in what we're trying to do, and it just takes time. And ultimately, I've got to make people want to play for me and play for Cork City and want to win things. And that's what my job's going to be. And, I think that when people get to know me, that I'm a likeable person, I want to win, I'll push them as much as I can. But I'll also go out and do whatever I can for them. I'll go out and make sure that I'll get the things they need, try and help them get to the levels they want to get to. And, when you do that as a coach and as a manager, you'll get the same back on the pitch. And then people will want to be here. And it is going to be tough because where we are in the league, but we need to develop and we need to improve and get better. And then we're more of an attraction to people. And it's not just about the name. It's about the style of football, the enjoyment of living here. Can we provide jobs, which we're working on? Can we, if you look at the league, the bottom 2 teams are the probably only 2 teams who don't pay any money for women. Every other team within the league either pays expenses or is paying them or finding a way of giving them jobs and money. And, that's a goal for us. But at the moment, it ain't quite there yet.
Yeah, it's a big gap. But listen, Danny, we've kind of run out of time with you there. I love your passion. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for both you and the club over the next few months and maybe seasons as Cork start to kind of grow into the potential that they've shown over the years. Best of luck. Congratulations on the appointment again. And I'm sure we'll be chatting to you later on in the season and as we go forward with the show and the league.
No problem, lads. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Danny.
No way. See you later.
Danny Murphy there. Aaron,
Murphy, all I can say is wow.
The passion is coming through in the voice and just the excitement. I think I'm really excited about what, if he can deliver even half of what he's hoping to do, I think Cork will be a different prospect in 12, 18 months.
For me, I think maybe the international break is probably coming at the perfect time and the mid-season break, because you listen to what he was saying. Like I listened to a bit of the podcast, club's interview earlier where they done the press conference, and he was talking about getting players to, just because their friends are in their position, that they want to go in and they don't care that their friends are there anymore and things like that. And I think it's evident that he's already looking at these sort of things and he's got his eye on a lot, and it's gonna be a fun time to watch him, because he's definitely gonna make an impact, and he's gonna definitely bring them on a lot.
Yeah, you might have got a sneak preview there of something that's coming up in just a couple of minutes. Alan Murphy, of course, we'll be hearing from him. You spoke to him post-match on the game, but let's maybe take a look at one or two of the other games first, and maybe the other kind of banker that we kind of spoke about last week, DLR down in Treaty having a poor season by their own standards. Picked up their first point of the week last week in a very impressive performance against Sligo Rovers, but kind of back to old ways. 4-0 defeat to DLR at the weekend, including one absolute belter of a shot from distance from Mia Dodd.
Yeah, great. First of all, great to see Mia Dodd back, because I watched against Cork when she went off in a stretcher and had to go to hospital, and worst fears were thinking ACL probably gone here, and fact it wasn't. She's back after a couple of weeks. It's great. Yeah, lovely strike. Avril Burley as well, popping up with 2 goals. I think Avril's probably one of the most underrated players in the league. She was with Shelbourne, probably didn't really get the exposure with the likes of Shells and Raheny because of who they had. Gone to DLR's done very well for DLR. It's an important win for them. But as we said before, Breifne, the biggest thing for DLR is they need to start backing these results up and backing them up with more wins. They haven't had 2 wins in a row since the start of the season, so they need to get a bit of momentum, and to score 4 against Treaty on the road is a good positive result.
Yeah, I think DLR for me have been, I don't like to use the word disappointment, because they haven't really been disappointing, but they've been the underachievers for me. Well, Peamount, obviously, we'll talk about them in a moment, or what we have done with the results they had at the weekend, but DLR, I just expected them to push on this year. It just hasn't quite happened. Could this be the first green shoots we're seeing of that kind of little bit of potential?
It could be, but the only problem is there's one game before the break. So if they win this game, they then got a 4-week break where they're coming back off the back of it. I think they've got Peamount straight after the break. So, that's where you'll really see what sort of momentum they're going to gain. But I do agree with you that they've been an underachiever. And I think if you ask Graham will be disappointed with that himself. So the players, but there's only 13 games gone, so there's still a lot of time with the teams up and around them dropping points constantly to each other. It doesn't mean that they're out of that sort of fight and that battle. So if they can get a run of 5-6 wins in a row going, it really brings them back in and closes that off.
Yeah, of course, Carla McManus with the 4th goal, well, the 3rd goal, but the 4th goal we haven't accounted for in that particular game. Athlone was the venue. Bows, the visitors, they travelled down to the Midlands on Saturday afternoon. Didn't take long for Emily Corbett to be handed an opportunity to score from the penalty spot. Didn't quite. She won't be showing that one in the highlight reel anyway, that's for sure. Blazed it over the bar. I think she thought she was still playing for Laois at that point, but she did get on the score sheet late in the second half. 2nd goal coming a few minutes later. They kind of wrapped it up. The consolation for Bows at the end, not quite enough to get them back in the game, but just Athlone have had a phenomenal season. Is that 7 wins and 8 now for them?
Yeah. 7 wins and 8. And the thing is, though, we sort of wanted to see their character after that Wexford defeat. How are they going to bounce back? Bounce back with a win, and you look at it and you're sort of thinking, okay, good. They didn't show and just slide away from. In terms of Bows, I was talking to the Bows camp, and they were disappointed with parts of the game, parts of the aspect of the game that they just weren't executing things where they be passing and stuff like that. But there's never a lot between these two sides when they do play. It was a 1-0 draw earlier in the season, and I think going to Athlone, it's not easy for many teams. But I think for Athlone, they've also been very impressive away from home. So for Tommy and the girls, it's another big win.
Absolutely. That brings us on to the 2 last games, the games we were at over the weekend. You were at the Shells game. It looked like it was business as usual. Shells score, bit of an opportunistic finish from Sergio Newton. I don't know how much Abigail Renane knew about it in goals, but snuck inside the post. Great finish, but I think Galway will be disappointed with how they conceded that. But what a rally in the second half. Talk us through the game from your point of view.
So, for me, on the goal itself, it's good build-up play. I think Noel Murray finds a nice little pocket of space before playing it out wide. I think with Sergio, you're right, it was an opportunity. She just stuck the foot out and got it into the front post. Abigail Renane couldn't have done anything. If you're Galway, you're definitely disappointed. You were defending brilliant up to that. The problem for them is they limited Shells to not many chances at all. Like at 1-0, Shelbourne have a golden opportunity. Noel Murray misses from about 7 yards out, blazes it over. You put your house in Noel from there, normally right in front of goal to score and make it 2-0. But Alan Murphy sort of made a change then, and it was a different Galway for the last 25, 30 minutes. And if anybody was going to get the win, it looked as though it was Galway for me. And this is mad that I'm even saying this. At times it looked as though Shelbourne had run out of ideas. They were just trying to put first-time crosses into the box. They were putting balls in the box that Galway could just easily defend and put away. And anytime they countered, even in the first half, when they countered, they looked dangerous. Julianne Russell was unbelievable. Chloe Singleton ran her legs off. Lindsay McKee picked up some nice pockets of space. But when the goal came, you can't say it wasn't deserved at that time. Jenna Slattery done well to pick the pocket of Pearl Slattery and loop the ball over Amanda Budden, who was off her line. Budden probably, I don't know if she'd be disappointed how far she was out, but it was just a standard pass. She wasn't maybe thinking it's going to come there. But for me, Galway definitely deserved the point. And when we listened to Alan was disappointed to leave Tolka Park with just a 1 point, and that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, maybe let's hear from him and what he had to say about the whole situation. Let's play this video now.
Just on my side, Breifne, no audio coming through.
Looks like we have an issue with audio, folks. Give me a second, and we'll get the working again. Sorry, just the joys of live broadcasts. So we go again from the top. Sorry to Alan Murphy. So we'll just bring it here. We'll go again from the top.
I'm talking about Galway boss Alan Murphy. Alan, a lot of character from your side in the second half. You come to the home of the champions. You're 1-0 down at the break. Yeah. Probably a little bit disappointed with the goal that you can see, because defending up until that, you were defending superbly, and it was probably a little bit of magic from Sergio just to stick the way she got the foot out.
Yeah, I think it was a few kind of consecutive errors by us for the goal. But I thought the first half was pretty good. Look, we came with a plan and we executed it pretty well. Disappointed with the goal. But I don't think they had any really other clear-cut chances. I think we probably had one or two on the break and that, but I think we came out in the second half a better team, a different team, a little bit of a different style, and it's probably, I don't know whether it's good or bad to be coming out of Tolka with a kind of disappointed to draw a game against the champions like that.
Like for your side, if you look at the first half, when the goal conceded, a lot of times when Shelbourne score a goal against teams will wilt and concede a second or concede a third, but you didn't, and you continued to go forward. Probably a little bit disappointed that there was one or two passes in the final third when you were catching them on the counter that just weren't going your way, but you could see the link up play and the attacks that you were having.
Yeah, we lacked a little bit of composure in the first half, where we final pass and maybe taking another pass with another touch, but. Again, I mean, you're coming here to a really experienced side. I mean, with I won't say a really inexperienced side, but a young side, and that's, I suppose, we're going to hopefully come on a lot from this today. I mean, we now look at it and we go, the things that we talk about, just like you said yourself, once Shell score one, they usually score two or three very quickly and put the game to bed. Didn't allow that, so proud of the girls today. Yeah.
Like you see in the second half, Noelle Murray has a glorious chance to go 2-0 up. But that seemed to spark your team. You made a little bit of a change just after that in terms of formation, and then it was nearly as if you flipped the script and you were coming here saying that it nearly looked as though you were the champions. You were the side that had all the momentum. Like Shelbourne, they've only conceded one goal all season. This was the second goal they conceded. But it looked as though you were that sort of side, that you were playing with that air of confidence. And when the ball fell to Jenna Slattery, I know probably it was a mistake from them that the pass, but when it fell to her and she found the finish, it was well deserved.
Yeah, it's a great finish, and I mean, we've seen Jenna doing that a lot previous seasons for Treaty, and she's had a good few chances this season. It just hasn't gone for her at times, but I mean, we're sticking with her, and she's done really well today. I thought I suppose the role that she was in was different for her, and she's learned a lot again today, and it's a superb finish. Like she's made it look really easy, and I think you're right. I think we grew into the game. I thought we were comfortable in the second half. Okay, we were 1-0 down for a portion of it, but I thought we were comfortable, and it's something to grow on. And look, we're, as I say, we're in our infancy really. I mean, we're only developing as a squad and as a group, and we're going to lose players and maybe get a player in or two, and that's the nature of it.
Like you may at times it looked as though like you'd got Shelbourne where they were running out of ideas. They didn't know what to do. They were putting first time cross in the box. It's just under pressure because you had them that much under ragged, and every time you looked at break, you looked as though you were going to cause them serious threats.
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie, we identified that at times, and we tried to play to that. Shells are a decent side, like, so they're good. They're good in transition to defence as well, where they stop us a lot and made us make errors. But but I think a little bit more quality in that first half from us, and we probably we'd have got something in the first half as well. And we look at that because we need to look at that again. If those areas and opportunities that dropped the shells, they probably would have put them away or had composure.
7 games unbeaten. The last time you lost a game was actually coincidentally against Shelbourne in Eamon DC Park, and you can see how you've come on. You've got results in Wexford. You've left Tolka Park with a result as well. Like for years gone by, at times when Galway got on a bit of a slump where they hadn't got the results, they found it hard to turn it. But you've been able to get that bit of momentum in consistent games, not just in one-off big games against the big teams.
Yeah, Alan, we are in a good place, but I mean we've taken every game one at a time. Being honest, we didn't get ahead of ourselves and start counting for that. But it's just a start really. I mean, 7 unbeaten. There's a break coming, but we need to concentrate very much so on Athlone next week. They're flying. I presume they won today. I don't know, but they're a very good side.
2-1 victory against Balls they had today, but like they took 3 points off you earlier in the season, and that's the sort of game where you'll be eyeing up. Can we go? Can you win? Can you execute better? But like it just seems as though the players that you have on the field, while some are inexperienced and some are a lot more experienced, they're working very well together. Like Trace Kenevi's made a swap from fullback into centre midfield, and she probably looked as though she was one of the top players on the pitch. Julianne Russell, having come back into the league last year, probably exceptional, and it just as look Emma Starr, we can name them all, but they were all exceptional from 1 to 11. Plus the players you brought on added an awful lot as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, the girls that say that themselves, they're a good team. Like they're a good bunch of girls. They're honest. They're gelling very well, and it is a team. Like there's no heroes in it, and they're very much learning their own roles and responsibilities within the team and executing them. And that's what that's why we're training as much as we are, and trying to develop and create a good brand and a style that we're unique for. That's it.
Brilliant. I look forward to catching you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Adam Murphy there, of course, manager of Galway. Speaking to you, Aaron, after the game, would you echo that? Do you think, we said it before the interview, but Galway would be disappointed with just the 1 point?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you say that coming to Shelbourne, that they're disappointed with 1 point. They've taken some beatings against Shelbourne in Tolka Park, and I thought they were brilliant. I thought they looked very well organised, and you can see how much they have come on. Like I said to Alan off the record, I said, in years gone by, when Galway lose a player like Savannah McCarthy through injury, their season may implode. But they didn't. They went the other way, and they've used it as motivation, and they've come on leaps and bounds. And I think for the second half of the season, it's going to be a good building block down there, and I expect them to get some more big results.
Okay, time will tell. I suppose the last game of the weekend last week, probably the biggest talking point. I'm not quite sure how we left it to last. I'll have to get my priority in check for next week. But for me, I was at the game, and I've been one of the harshest critics this year in terms of Sligo's season. I didn't expect much. I said that at the start of the season, and I have been blown away by the performances. The results have been phenomenal. Still not quite the finished article, but you really can see the makings of a really solid provincial team in this league. And we've talked about the importance of having teams again like Cork and Treaty, Athlone, Galway, and now Sligo being at a level where they can compete with the teams, the perceived top teams. And we've seen them push Shells almost to a draw, and now probably the biggest result of their season so far. And there's been some good ones. A 1-0 win against Wexford, a fantastic, opportunistic but fantastic finish from Emma Doherty from about 30-35 yards. Defensive mistake, a little bit of a mess up at the back by Wexford. And we've seen that across the league this weekend with 3 kind of similar defensive mistakes punished from distance. But Emma Doherty, probably the pick of those 3, finds the back of the net, and it's game over. Sligo hold on, save the penalty. Amy Mahon, hero of the hour, saved the penalty from Kylie Murphy in injury time. Kylie won't want to watch that on the highlight reel either, but Amy, it's going to be her defining moment, I think, of the season. 3 clean sheets on the bounce. Would you have expected that from a team brand new into the league this season?
To be honest with you, I said this before. I said when they come into the season, the league, I didn't know what to expect. I was hearing some reports saying they're going to be decent, some reports saying they could be absolutely woeful. And, it was only when I first seen them myself against Peamount they took a bad beating, but there was characteristics in that I liked. Then as the season went on, watched them against Shells. They were horribly unlucky against Shelbourne with the 92nd minute goal from Kiva Keenan. Probably robbed them a well-deserved point. And I sort of walked away from that day saying they're going to trouble. They're going to take a scalp off somebody. Didn't expect it this early in the season, but to get the scalp against Wexford at home, it's a big result. It's a massive result, and like I would put it ahead of Bow's result against Peamount in terms of being the result of the season so far. For me, it's number one. It's number one, and Amy Mahon, what a youngster! She's come in and taken a chance from Kristen Sample, and you'd probably put your money on Kylie Murphy scoring that penalty. So cool, calm, composed normally under the pressure, but Amy Mahon got a brilliant save.
It's funny. I was standing with a few of the kind of the fathers and fans that I know from around the area, and I called the goal and I called the penalty save at halftime. I said it's going to be an Emma Doherty effort, probably of her own making, and then Sligo would hold on and win this. And when Kylie Murphy, I don't know what it was, I think Amy had just had such a phenomenal game up to that, and a lot of goalkeeping is purely confidence. And I just thought, you know what, she's on form now, and Kylie knows she's on form. She's watched a couple of her teammates, Ciara Roster, pull off a great save. There was a couple of other saves early on in the game as well where Amy just stepped up to it and was really, really top notch. And I said it to the lads that were with me. I was like, I think she's going to save this. She did. I don't think I was that surprised at all that she saved it, because she was on such a good run of form, and you could just see the confidence building in the youngster. As you said, she's only 17, from Mayo, playing back in Sligo this year, having been there underage, and I think she's probably been the success story of the league for me. I've been very impressed with a couple of youngsters that have come through in the league this year, but she, for me now, has really grasped that jersey by the neck for the last 3 weeks, and I think Kristen Sample, when she does come back from injury, it's going to be a coin toss as to who you put in, because you have two of the best keepers in the league, and performance-wise at the moment. You just robbed my next question, because that was my next question. Is Sample going to find it hard to get back in? I know she listens to the show, but Amy Mahon is just on absolute superb form, and you can't take it away from her. The only question you've got to ask now are the underage management watching her now for international, because she's pulled off a string of top-class performances. Not many goalkeepers at that sort of age are playing Women's National League and now playing regularly. So she's going to have clean sheets as well. Keeping clean sheets as well. That's the most impressive. Listen, let's not have us talking about her. Let's hear from the horse's mouth. I spoke to her after the game on Saturday. Let's hear what she had to say herself.
Amy, fantastic performance, fantastic results. You must be delighted.
Yeah, I am. Look, we were disappointed with our result last week against Treaty, but we got advice from Steve and all the staff this week, and we took it all on board, and we put on a great display for everyone in the showgrounds today, and we're happy we got the 3 points and we're buzzing.
I suppose the first half was a bit nip and tuck. Lauren Bowles had a great opportunity, just went wide, and it didn't look like it was going to be your day, and Wexford were kind of coming more and more into it. To get that goal slightly against the run of play, but it was just a really good finish from Emma. It must have built a little bit of confidence that this would be a historic, probably the biggest win of the season so far for Sligo. Yeah, look, Wexford are a very good team. Obviously it's not that we weren't expecting the points, but we were kind of coming into the game as underdogs, I suppose. But I thought we played very well in the first half, and then we came out and gave it a bit more in the second half, and everything went our way, I suppose, today, and yeah. Let's talk about that injury time penalty save, because what was going through your head? You're 1-0 up, you've held on, and you've been under pressure for most of that second half since taking the lead, and all of a sudden handball, it looked like from the other end of the pitch at least, whistle goes, penalty. What's going through your thoughts immediately?
I was raging. I knew it was the last whistle, so I knew it was either she scores or I save, and it's 1-1 or 1-0. But like Steve told me before the game, told me a bit of advice, and I took it on board, and I'll say I chose the right decision at the end of the day.
You want to share that bit of advice with us?
No, can't.
In terms of, I suppose, the actual full performance of yourself, a couple of saves. Admittedly, some of them after the whistle had gone for offside, but you still pull off the save. You've grown in confidence over the last 2 or 3 games since you've got that run in the side. 3 clean sheets on the bounce. There's a lot of keepers in the league would kill for that kind of record. You must be really just happy with how this season is going for you personally.
Yeah, look, it was unfortunate what happened to Kristen, but I came in, filled her boots, and I'm getting a lot of advice from her, and I'm taking it on board each week, and I'm growing as a player, I suppose, and yeah.
What dragged you to Sligo in the first place? Dragged is probably the wrong word. What brought you to Sligo in the first place? Was it just the attraction of playing National League?
Well, I was with Sligo from under 17s, and then I made the move last year to Galway, And obviously once I heard the news about Sligo Rovers as a women's team, I came back and I haven't regretted it, and I'm enjoying everything.
Where do you go from here for the season? What's the plan for the rest of the year?
Hopefully stay in the starting team, and hopefully we can get points on the board and do well.
Must be nice to have those couple of clean sheets on the board as well.
It is, yeah.
Well, listen,
Good confidence for me.
Congratulations today, and very best luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
And that was Amy Mahon there chatting to me after the game on Saturday. Apologies for the bit of wind on the microphone, but I think you got the gist of it there. She seems quite happy, quite content with her last couple of weeks.
Absolutely, and she's riding the massive crest of a wave, and long may it, from a Sligo point of view, long may it continue, because we need good goalkeepers in this league. We need strong goalkeepers in this league. We see there's some good ones playing at the moment, and the more competition that's there, the better it's going to push them all on to want to be better week in, week out, and it only helps for the league.
Yeah, there's a bit of a buzz around the club down there at the moment, and the Saturday afternoon kickoffs, they generate a bit of interest. Not a huge crowd, but a fairly engaged crowd all the same on Saturday afternoon at the stadium. So hopefully they can kick on. They play Peamount this weekend. Before we get into, we'll chat about that a little bit. Let's hear from Stephen Quinn. He very kindly spoke to me after what can only really be described as a kind of heartbreaking defeat for him against the new girls in the league. Let's hear what Stephen Quinn had to say.
After that, bit of a roller coaster for the last 90 minutes.
Yeah, no, look, it's probably when you've been around football a long time, and a lot of people, it's one of them days, like, and the chances we had, I suppose, like, when we look back on them, and probably in another day, like, we take 2 or 3 of those chances, like Kylie, Rossi and Ellen, like, probably didn't work to keep her enough. But look, full credit to Sligo, that they stuck to their task, like, and they gave us a little bit. The first half gave us a lot to think about, like, in the second half, then we thought we controlled it a little bit more, and then look, they got that goal then, which is a great strike from her. Probably a little bit of miscommunication between ours, but we did what we could. Just kept going at them and tried to create chances, and then fortunately then we get that little bit of, I suppose, opportunity to take a point and get away, but it just wasn't being the day, like, and it just one of those days.
In terms of, I suppose, where the club is coming from, you've, I suppose, followed Wexford's progress before you became the manager there as well. You've seen how a provincial club has to kind of keep the ball rolling and just keep taking over, maybe getting those results against the head when maybe you're not expected to kind of build in the club. How important is this, in your opinion, to another provincial club like Sligo just starting out in the first season?
Oh, it's brilliant, like, and it just gives them, all the hard work they're doing. I know Steve is doing great work with them as well, like, and a good chat with Steve, and they just puts their work into practice when they go up the pitch, and like you see that they're a young squad with a bit of experience as well. So that's that experience there, and we had that last year when sometimes games we weren't in it, but we still grind out the result, like. But that will benefit them massively, like, and look, they're going to, hopefully the way the season's going, like, they could take points off of someone else, like, so for us it's 3 points gone, like, but the way the league is going, we're hoping there's going to be other results that's going to be dropped and just stay in contention as long as we can. But for like Sligo, they're going to move up the table gradually over the next period of time. There's still another half of the season to go again, like.
In terms of that, I spoke with the league table, the title race, Shell's now advantage them really. They had a bit of a lead coming into this weekend. People would expect them to extend that this weekend again, as they've been on fire all season. Does this kind of put one nail in the coffin for everyone else's title challenge, or is there still a title challenge there for the likes of yourselves and the clubs chasing Shells at the top of the table?
Oh, look, it's easy to say, like, with the points and that, like, you see that what happened last year as well, so nothing has ever finished. Like, we would have, even last year we thought we were out of contention. We've done and won 20 games in a row, so this league is we're 20 games unbeaten, but this league is just so on. You don't know what's going to happen. Like today, Shells could go and win comfortably, or they could drop points, and it's just a quick, like, we've got 3 points today. We're playing Shells next Saturday. It could have been a 4-point turnaround in the second half season. Now it's going to be a little bit further, but it's just more work we need to do, and it's the teams around as well, like Athlone and Peas and Galway and DLR. They're all teams that are going to get stronger as the season goes on, like, so it's hopefully, like, it's going to stay competitive, like, because you wouldn't like to see just one team just going on and win every game, and it doesn't make it exciting.
Obviously you were probably the stronger side in the lead up to that first goal, and it kind of came from a bit of a mix-up, as you mentioned, at the back between slice clearance and the keeper or whatever. Ends up probably the worst person in the league to give the ball to in that position. She finishes it really well, but from your point of view, what was the kind of the emotional journey from there right through to the penalty in the injury time to the missed penalty? Like, what was your head saying to your heart, I suppose, in that?
I know, I suppose when the ball fell to her, I just treated it so it's clean that it was going to go in, and then that's how we react, like, and Delago getting the football, and just, like, we created loads of opportunities then, and we kept them in our half. I don't think may have had to really make a save apart from taking the ball out of the back of net. Like, so it's frustrating because in another day you could probably score 2 or 3, and we've been doing that. And the caliber of players we have up front, like, it's just probably they're more disappointed than anyone else because they know, like, probably when you left them off the pitch, there's probably a lot of chances there. And look, fair play to the goalkeeper and their defenders and everything else, like, but it's just disappointing, really.
I suppose it's very tough to be thinking about the bigger picture when you've kind of taken a result like that on the road. But how important is it for the league that results like today do happen? Because I suppose in previous years, a team from the top of the league meets a team from the bottom of the league. It could have been 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-0 even in certain cases. But that teams from the lower reaches of the league are able to put it up and compete with the top sides in the league. How important is it that the league produces results like that on a regular-ish basis?
Well, that's what you want, and like most of you talk to any of the players, even like Kylie, they're around 10 years, they want a competitive league. They want to go out knowing that they don't. Some games now you go to, you don't know what the result's going to be. Where before, maybe even before my time, it was foregone conclusion. You come to a team and you 5 or 6 goals, and the game is over after half time. Like, but that's not the case anymore. Like, any team we go to now, full respect to everyone. We do all our analysis, do everything else, and it's on the day really. Like, so it's who wants it more on the day, and then that always that little bit of luck as well. Like.
How do you pick the girls up this week now ahead of a tie with Shells next week?
Well, it's all or nothing now against Shells. Like, you can go 2 ways. Like, you can go bury your head in sand and just get through the motions this week, or you can put your head down now and work hard. And we know on our day, like, and if we perform against Shells or any team, that we're capable of beating anyone in this league. There's going to be blips on the way. It's part of life as well. Things don't always go the way you want, and we've done a lot of hard work, and we've shoestrings of tough games under our belts. So we're looking forward to now next weekend and rectifying today, and then getting a little bit of a break as well. Rest a few legs.
Well, listen, Stephen, thanks very much for chatting to us. Hard luck today, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks very much.
Thoughts on that, Aaron?
Yeah, he's honest. You know, he's honest, and I like that. He's right in what he says as well, and you're right in what you said in the interviews. It's important for the likes of a Sligo, because previous years, the amount of times I've gone to National League games, and I hate to say this, but there was times where we were always saying, how many? Yeah. You know, where now there's the games I'm going to, and I'm sort of thinking, okay, this could be different. Like Bowes Peamount in Peamount, you know, you're thinking, okay, but if Peamount, if Bowes start well, they could get something. Where now you're looking at these guys, games. Sligo start well against Peamount. Can Sligo put pressure on them this weekend? You know, that's the thing, and that's the most important bit for me for the league. I think in terms of the league standings, and this weekend is massive. There's no doubt about it. If Shells win this weekend, the gap is going to be so big. I had a Shells person tell me last week nearly there's one hand on the trophy before the game after Wexford lost, and then they drop points.
Well, let's take a look at that league table. If we bring it up here in front of us, we have, if I can just check it there, Shells currently with an 8-point lead at the top of the table. If we zoom in a bit, it'll be a bit easier. So, but then there's a really nice gathering of teams there. Wexford, Athlone, Peamount, Galway, even DLR only 2 points behind. There's only 6 points between second and sixth in the league table. Sligo will put themselves in that discussion as well. They're probably just a little bit too soon for them in the reality of the situation, though. But those other 5 teams, any of them could finish in the top 2 at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, you look at if Shells are beaten the weekend, for example, the gap comes back down to 5 points with 13 games to go. So it opens it up even more. Whereas if they win, they extend it out to 11, depending on the Athlone result. So it is all to play for, and I think the sides in and around second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they're going to take points off each other constantly. So for Shelbourne, if Shelbourne just can continue to do what they're doing, the teams around them could make it easier by taking the points off each other. Whereas, you know, you're looking at it's going to take a good couple of results for the likes of Sligo and Bowes to get back into that. Let's assess it maybe in 5 games' time to see where Cork City are, how many results they've got with Danny Murphy there, because we talked with oozing of passion, and they could pick up some results. They could become dangerous in the second half of the season to results that they may get. Like, it's mad to see even 6 teams on a plus goal difference at this stage of the season. Normally, previous years, there would have been a lot of minuses.
Let's take a look at some of the statistics in the league so far. Anya Gorman with that hat-trick last week. Of course, she moves clear at the top of the top scorers chart. with 13 strikes so far this season. 174, I think, is her total across the league so far, which is just phenomenal in 12 seasons. Emily Corbett, she was on the score sheet again last week, 11 goals to her name. Ella Malloy, despite a couple of opportunities, no score in the showgrounds, but Kylie Murphy, that missed penalty as well. So we're seeing a lot of kind of movement through the top of the scoring charts. Emma Doherty, Sergio Newton, Avril Brierley there as well. Sinead Taylor, no score from her did she score at the weekend?
No, Erica Burke got the goal.
Sorry, apologies. Yeah, I'm confused myself. So yeah, some really, really, really positive stuff there at the top end of the table. And then in terms of the clean sheets at
Just
the other
before
end,
you move to clean sheets, Sergio Newton, she scored. I think that's her 6th goal in 6 games, because she didn't score the first 2. She come on and then she scored against Treaty, and then she scored every game since. So she's really found her form for Shelburne.
Yeah, no, she's an impressive player when she's in full flight. In terms of the opposite side then of the field, Amanda Budden, she has not kept a clean sheet for only the 2nd time this season, but only the 2nd goal they've conceded all year at the same time. But for me, I think Amy Mahon is the one you have to look at the mid to lower end of that particular table. 5 starts, 3 clean sheets, 3 on the bounce at the moment. That's just phenomenal form.
Absolutely, and she's shown it. And like even the likes of Maeve Williams keeping 4 clean sheets probably would have struggled for opportunities in recent years. Abigail Renan, there's a lot of young goalkeepers doing well, and as we spoke about earlier, even Rachel Kelly was being talked about last week as the unsung hero by Bambi, and you know it's gonna be fun to watch the goalkeepers, because I think the goalkeepers in the second half of the season will have a massive say on who finishes where.
I think so. Some exciting games ahead. But of course, this weekend, let's take a look at the fixtures. They're there below you. We'll run through them quickly. DLR and Bows, they've been pulled forward to tomorrow night, 7:45 kickoff in the Belfield Bowl, and then 4 fixtures down for decision on Saturday afternoon. Shells versus Wexford Youths. We've talked about that game at 2 o'clock in Tolka. Peamount visit the showgrounds to play Sligo Rovers at 2 p.m. on Saturday also, while there's a Munster derby between Cork City and Treaty United at 5. And then the 2
just be aware, all the games are actually 2 o'clock on Saturday due to the or the internationals are on Saturday, so all the games will be brought forward. And Galway, just for anybody who wants to go to it, Galway versus Athlone is on in Merview United rather than Amy DC Park. I think there's renovations going on the pitch to the name of DC.
The fact that we're even having this discussion and that you're pulling me up on mistakes that I've made today, like that says something. Should we be past that stage where we're changing fixtures on the week of the game? Like that doesn't happen in the men's game. Why do we accept it in the women's?
Yeah, you're right. And I know the DLR Waves Bows one was brought forward for. I've been told that the pitch is unavailable in DLR Waves on Saturday due to an event, so that was brought forward a number of weeks ago. Whereas the other ones, yeah, you're right. If we're going to make changes, it should be communicated well in advance. I know the league sent out a communication. I think it was around the 25th of May, so they gave a couple of weeks' notice just to say that they would be moving and stuff like that. But for me, the problem is you don't want to clash with an Ireland men's international game, same way the women's wouldn't
like
clash.
We did tonight.
But you know, the problem is you're right. You need to have better communication on that. But sometimes we don't know them fixtures when the league fixtures are made. But it can be done sooner rather than leave it until the last couple of weeks before the games.
Yeah, I just think this, and that's what Danny talked about in terms of how the clubs treat the league and the team, and I think it has to come from the top down, from the FAI. And we've seen this time and time again. Like even the game being moved from MDC Park to Merview. Like Merview's a decent facility, but realistically, could that game have been played in Athlone with the other game played in with the later game switched to accommodate those?
We actually seen that happen last year. Shelburne were supposed to play the opening day of the season at home against Athlone, and there was an issue with Tolka Park, so they just reversed the fixture and played.
It happened last weekend. Cork and Peamount were supposed to be in turn, or was supposed to be in Peamount, but it was moved to Turner's Cross or vice versa. I can't remember which. So it does happen, but then at least you're keeping the standard of the facilities high. Now, mind you, as a backup facility, Merview is pretty good, but at the same time, we want to get these games played in stadiums. We want to accommodate fans, and we want to provide seating and covered seating because we can't be guaranteed the weather. We want people to come out to these games. I just it just grinds my gears a little bit.
It's a small little ick that we just need to scratch off.
Let's talk about the football. Let's run quickly through the games. Your pick of the weekend.
Shell's Wexford for me is the pick of the weekend. It's going to be an absolute cracking game Saturday afternoon. If Shells win, is it going to be an unassailable lead? But can Wexford pull something off? They've struggled a little bit against the top teams this year, but that's for me is the pick of the game. I think there many of the games for different reasons are interesting. Galway, Athlone. Can Galway extend that unbeaten run? Can Athlone get another win against Galway? So they all have a lot at stake. Even the Munster derby, because both teams haven't got a lot of results this year. So I just think for the weekend's fixtures, anything can happen, and I wouldn't write Sligo off for putting in another good performance. They may not get the victory, but they may put in.
It was the only one you hadn't mentioned, and I want to ask you about it because obviously this has the added history of that game, 6-0 on the field, overturned, 9-goal swing, a 6-point swing effectively for the two teams. Could there be a little bit of a, not that it was Sligo's fault, but could there be a little bit of a kick in Peamount to really put it and prove that they were worth that win at the end? Or are we talking about a different Sligo team now than we were on day one of the season? I think so.
It's night and day, the Sligo team, but I do agree Peamount might want to go out and be ruthless and just put on a that's for what happened. But unfortunately, it was a Peamount error. It wasn't nothing to do with Sligo. Sligo didn't even protest. It was Peamount made the FAI aware. So Peamount took the punishment for it. But I do think they will try to come all guns blazing. If Sligo can hack out, it could be another famous opportunity for Sligo at the weekend. But it'll be a difficult one.
It's a much bigger task than last week against Wexford. I think just the experience that Peamount bring to town will possibly be the deciding factor on the day. I think it's either going to be like the Shells game, tight the whole way to the end, or it's going to be like the original game where Peamount score early and then it could be a bit of a procession. So we'll see how that goes. But lots of activity wherever you end up this weekend. All games, despite what it says on the screen below you here, all games kicking off at 2 p.m. on Saturday. One game tomorrow night, that's DLR and Bows in the Belfield Bowl at 7:45. All of these games, of course, live coverage, live updates on finalwhistle.ie, and you can watch it yourself for free on LOITV.ie as well. There's no Premier Division men's games this week, but plenty of football with the international stuff happening as well. Aaron, I think that's us for the week. We've overrun the hour again by a few minutes. We need to get more behaved ourselves, but that's my technical issues at fault. Anything else you want to say ahead of the weekend? Oh, one other piece of news. Jess Zhu was picked as the player of the month. Thoughts on those kind of awards? How significant are they? Was it the right pick?
Listen, Shelbourne go unbeaten in the month of May. If you're going to give it to a Shelbourne player, you can't really argue that she was the only one nominated. Yeah, probably does deserve it, but some of the others you can't really knock out the likes of the Emily Corbett. You can't. It's a tough one, but she probably does deserve it. And then it's a last game, obviously, for Shelbourne the weekend with herself and Sergio Newton, and then heading off when the UK transfer window opens on the 1st of July.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When I saw the result, not that I don't think she's earned the accolade. I just think there are other players who might not be as frequent in that discussion for accolades or down the line who could have probably been given the nod. I would have liked to have seen Emily Corbett get it myself. I think she's had a stellar couple of weeks and probably a big part of that reason as to why Athlone have been doing so well as well. But listen, that is where it is. Jess, congratulations on your success. Well deserved, despite other good performances elsewhere. We can't knock what you brought to that table. Even some of the runs down that wing at the weekend really set Shells up in that attacking stage before they got pegged back by Galway. That's it for the week. I'm rambling now, so I'm going to shut up. Aaron, thanks for joining me again. To all of our guests, to Danny who joined us live, to Alan, Stephen, and of course the hottest pair of gloves in town, Amy Mahon. Can she keep a clean sheet against the top scorer in the league history? Double almost everybody else in the league, which is absolutely phenomenal. 174 goals for Anya O'Gorman. I was doing the maths on it over the last couple of days. Will she hit 175 at the weekend? Amy Mahon, well, I might have something to say about that. Aaron, thanks again for joining us. We'll be back with you again next week. Talk to you then.